All right, Matt, it is time for our main event of the evening. And listen, because it's a main event and because it's a title fight, we get the 5-minute timer. We have Julia Budd, the Canadian, taking on Justino, Cris Cyborg. Start the 5-minute timer. Matt, this is really interesting because a lot of people wanted to see this fight for a long time. Julia Budd came up with Strikeforce originally, fought around, Bellator, longtime champ. She's on an 11-fight win streak. She's taking on Cris Cyborg, the former Strikeforce champ, the former UFC champ, who had plenty of success until the Nunes fight. Then she beat another Canadian in Felicia Spencer, a transplant, but still a Canadian. And it was a very decisive win. I've been looking forward to this fight for a long time. It's fun and it's important because Julia Budd is kind of one of the few 145ers that's really a true 145er. And at the same time, she's been very dominant. And that's why it makes for a fun stylistic matchup. And if you would have tried to pick this fight back in, 2013, 2012, 2013, Julia Budd had a loss to Amanda Nunes. She beat Germaine de Randamie. She lost to Ronda Rousey. And then it's been a win streak ever since. Whereas Cris Cyborg beat some of the best, went to Invicta, beat some more, UFC, won some more, lost to the greatest of all time. Matt, Cris Cyborg at this stage of her career is in kind of the later stages. But what do you expect out of Cris Cyborg making the transition to Bellator, reunion with Scott Coker? What do you see here?
I just want to say, I told you so, how I said Cris Cyborg was going to sign with Bellator. I thought her relationship with Scott Coker was a big part of that. It just goes to show, kind of on a bit of a tangent, but Scott Coker has such a good relationship with all the fighters who did fight under the Strikeforce banner, and a lot of them you do see kind of go back to him eventually. Exactly. So it just kind of, I figured she would make her way to Bellator. Henderson. And this is a really exciting fight. Like you said, Julia Budd, she hasn't really been the face of Bellator, but more one of the faces of their women's MMA.
She's been the face of Thackerville, Oklahoma.
She has
they
been
just
the face
keep
of Thackerville,
putting her there.
But she's never fought anyone like Cris Cyborg. And I think Cris Cyborg has a kind of an overrated career when you really look at all the women who she beat. A very padded and stacked record. Julia Budd, you can say the same thing about, though. And at least Cris Cyborg, once she did make it to the UFC, and when she did start fighting high-level competition, always put on a good show of it. The only blemish on her record really is that Amanda Nunes fight. And Amanda Nunes could go in there and probably beat both of these women in the same night. Like, that's just how highly I think of Amanda Nunes. So it's really nothing against Cris Cyborg. Julia Budd does the one thing Cris Cyborg's not great at. Cris Cyborg's not good at getting her back off the cage. But when she's in open space, she's going to light you on fire. Now, here's one good thing Cris Cyborg does with her back against the cage. She's not great at getting you off of her, but she's really good at throwing elbows while you're trying to take her down. That's the one good thing about her. She's found a way that, okay, maybe I can't defend your wrestling the traditional way, but I'm going to make you hurt every single time you go for a takedown. And I think that's going to be a really important part of this fight because Julia Budd, what do we know about her? Power puncher, but she's not a great striker. I know she's had more knockouts as of late, but her striking's not that good. It's just she hits really hard for the weight division.
And I want to say, I disagree a little bit there. She is a good kickboxer. I mean, you look at the kickboxing record. I said she had a win over de Randamie in MMA. She had a loss to de Randamie in kickboxing. Actually, I believe she had 2 losses to her in kickboxing. And you look at her last win over Olga Rubin, who was an up-and-comer, undefeated.
You're making my point for me at this point.
It was kind of wolf tickets, and at the same time, it was the big bad wolf, Olga Rubin. Great nickname. Kicked her right in the liver, backed her up, finished her by TKO. There's a lot of different ways that Julia Budd can get a win. For Cris Cyborg to get a win, there's pretty much only one way. And I want to set that up in this way because out of 361 votes over on Tapology, 88% picking Cris Cyborg and 85% of those votes going by knockout. The odds here have the champ at a plus 325 underdog, whereas Cris Cyborg's minus 450. So, Matt, we talked about it. The Strikeforce connection. She made the right decision for sure. She's got her sponsorships all over her t-shirts. It's a chance to really, exactly, brand yourself. And if she wins here, a chance that she goes on a long title reign. How do you see this fight going, and who are you going to pick?
Okay, I know your prediction, and I'm going to say Cris Cyborg, I think, is going to win this fight. I think she's going to go out there and knock out Julia Budd. Even though Cyborg, as I said, is overrated, and even though Julia Budd does the one thing well that Cyborg doesn't do well. But look at Julia Budd. I know Craig said she's a good striker. She's not. Watch her fights. She's slow and she's kind of stiff in the way that she strikes. And I'm worried is that we see it a lot of times. Grapplers get a couple knockouts and they fall in love with striking. I'm telling you this right now. If Julia Budd goes out there and tries to strike with Cris Cyborg for even one round, she's going to get her head taken off. It's not even close to the level of strikes that these two women are at. But here's the good news. All she has to do is use her striking to set up a takedown, and then she can kind of work through that rhythm over and over and over again. Similar to her last fight, if Cris Cyborg can stuff that first takedown, I think Cris Cyborg's going to run over Julia Budd. I don't think this is competitive at all. But if Julia Budd could get the takedown and tire Cyborg out, I can actually see it really paying off for her in the end.
That's the thing. If you're a UFC fan, you saw Felicia Spencer find a lot of success in Invicta. She fights Megan Anderson. She beats her, huge underdog, and then she fights Cris Cyborg and loses. But Julia Budd, so physically strong, so dominant in the wrestling and the grappling aspect of things. I think she has a good chance at getting Cyborg down to the mat. I mean, we saw it with Yana Kunitskaya. She had a little bit of success.
How'd that fight end, though?
Before she got knocked out. Holly Holm had a little bit of success here and there and against the cage. And if Julia Budd can get that forward pressure and some strikes in that clinch, get her down to the mat, I'm going to pick the underdog here in the Canadian. In Julia Budd, I think she's going to be able to get the win. But Matt, it's a great fight. Yeah, it really is a good fight.
Cyborg by knockout round 2, but I agree with what Craig's saying. I think the odds are a little out of whack. I feel like Cyborg should be a favorite, but maybe only like a -200. I don't think she should be this massive favorite. Just due to the fact that we are seeing Cris Cyborg on the back nine of her career. She's not like putting on the 18th hole just yet.
And it's not to say that Julia Budd's young in her career either. Exactly. I mean, they both pretty much started out at the same time.
But Cyborg... eventually the power is going to get to Julia Budd. Even if Budd can sort of tire her out, it's not like Cyborg has bad cardio by any means. She rallied to beat Holly Holm in the 5th round of their fights. She can keep it up all rounds, and I feel like the power is going to get to Budd.
Matt, we are really looking forward to this one. Yeah. Hell, we're going to watch this over UFC Raleigh, so you're not going to want to miss our Bellator 238 predictions for the main card, for the prelims, everything. Join us on Saturday. You can find us on Twitter at Craig Allen FMP, at Matt Allen FMP. Maybe we have an episode of Question Mark Kicks. Who knows? It's all up in the air. But listen, we're having a lot of fun on YouTube, and we certainly appreciate everybody for tuning in. So Matt, without further ado, like we end everyone, let's get into it.